All right, y'all, it's time to get up. Let's 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 be bold about it. Let's be bold about it. Come on. The word of the day was to endure, right? So let's be bold about your declaration. Come on. I'm going to endure whatever it is. Come on. Shout out to my young, spiritual, expecting young little Sister Carrie and her family, right? Shout out, because this is a word that, man, at home we've been struggling with this, right? My wife, she totally does not like the social media, right? But she understands the tool of social media. So she was like, yeah, I may just keep a business page and cancel the personal page. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I understand that. I understand a lot of people don't live like in the forefront, right? Introverts, right? And in the end of the day, I was like, I'm an introvert. Then I had to realize, right? Was I really an introvert, or was I conditioned, or had I changed? Did I change into what I needed to be able to survive in certain settings, certain circles, certain situations in here? Why that was important? I'm really not an introvert. I really don't have fears of these things other than the fear of not being enough. Right? That truth. See, social media allows for others to see the truth. Me, I was so content with being used by God, I was beyond shame. Right? I was in a place of pain. I was in a place of broken. Right? So in that place, I had to realize everything wasn't for everybody, and everybody wasn't privy to the most precious things that God gives you. Yeah, I'm walking because my back is one of the days where it's inflamed. Right, my L4 and my L5. I'm dealing with I think they said it's called compacting. I have what's called a transitional anatomy. 45 years, I've never even. Right, and what that means is I was premature. Right, so because I was premature, I mean, just understand that's common sense, right? But for those that premature, I was underdeveloped, and as I was living, my body was developing. So some of the things like my vertical ribs, they're shortened. I have no 12 or 11 ribs, right? So I think it's called plastic rib, or something of some sort like that, right? So all that to say, the pain that I'm enduring, right, isn't a new pain. It was new for the doctors. It's a diagnosis for the doctors. It explains to the doctor why I was in so much pain, lower limb pain, nerve issues, right? Because the way my pelvic, it was transitional, right? Transitional anatomy, meaning it was atypical, meaning instead of the pelvic sitting straight, mine was to the left. So because it was to the left, my L4, my L5 was weight bearing to the left. It's closing compression to the left, right? Those that know me, they know I played sports. I was great, right? And that's not taunting my home. Glory to God, I was great though. Right? So when they're telling me, hey, you should have had issues walking, and I always had pains in my ribs, in my back. Right? After every game, I had to ice wrap. Always, I could work. I had issues with my back. Right? The pain was something I learned to live with. Right? However, you start to deteriorate in the joints, so the pain gets bigger. So then you get arthritis in those joints. Then you start to tear up your spine cavity. Ultimately, you start destroying your spine. You lose all mobility. Yeah, and why are you sharing, right? I'm sharing to say, right? I was listening to a guy, Fetty, uh, SK, I think, Georgia. He's a American bully breeder. He's also a influencer, father, business owner, motivator, right? He was asking us, right, the people that was on his community, and the question was, if you could take all your problems, would you throw your problems in the box and you wouldn't know what you would get back? And my answer was I wouldn't throw my problems in the box for two reasons. I wouldn't want nobody to endure this, right? And two, I wouldn't want to, I know how to live as me. I wouldn't want to have to accept anything other than, what God gave me for me to endure. So that's why the message of today was important. And it was a blessing of multiple, right? People, different ages. Florida was heavy. Florida was working heavy. I think Sister Carrie from Florida too, I think. All right? So I think my brother Freddie, I think I heard him say he was from Florida, but I think he lived in Georgia. But Florida was heavy, right? The South was heavy. And it's a good question if you could take your problems and put them in that barrel. Would you take somebody else's? I wouldn't. But the question's with you. Why does that tie in this message of enduring? All right, I gave you the backstory. Right, everybody knows how I was born. Some knows the issues of why. Right, I was born early. None of that really matters. What matters is the pain. Right, it wasn't a new pain. The body, it wasn't a new body. The problem wasn't a new problem. The diagnosis now was clear. These are things that he had to live with, right? But to me, I played sports. I was great. I understand now. I was having hip issues, back issues, rib issues. I get it now. Then I had nobody really to tell I was having these issues that would take me to, you get it? I'm not pointing no blame on nobody, right? 45 dealing with the cancer in the back, right? All of it, the MRIs basically show what's inside of me, right? What we can't see. So then it starts to make sense why the left leg, right? I remember one time I was in a game, right? And I broke loose and I tripped. And I was like, man, I'm looking down, right? Then I started to understand. It was because my left leg would drag. So if you would get tired, right, you would drag it a little bit more. So as I got older and heavy, these things became more of a burden on me. So then it started to become more clear. It wasn't that the body was anything different than what the body was. However, the body was much more heavy than what the body needed to be. So the issues that the body was predetermined to have, right, the defect of being premature, right? Being born in between 6 and 7 months. You could look up the physical, right? We can all probably imagine the mental, the cognitive, all of these things, right? Could probably answer a lot of questions. 45 years later, I thank God that I had a family that didn't accept any of that. So I didn't have any of that. So at 45 now, with the limits facing now, right? With the issues in the body, right? Now, I don't like pain medicine, so I don't take pain pills, right? So you deal with the pain, right? Then you have to process pain. And what does pain do to you, right? Pain is an irritant. Pain will irritate those around you. Pain will destroy, right? But pain shouldn't be an excuse. Pain should be a tool, right? A tool to help others deal with their pain, the pain that they can't explain, right? The pain that they can't explain or maybe communicate to others, right? Because pain and trauma, right? Shared trauma and pain, those that experience these things, they can relate. But they may not be able to express their pain, right? Through the shame. For me, my issues were physically given to me young, right? The miracle, right? One of the notes said, the miracle. It's a miracle he's still here. These are the notes that they were putting, and you're reading these things like, a miracle. A miracle that never felt like one. I guess that's the blessing in those that are connected to me, right? I could never, right, live, okay, out of the body unless it was spiritually See, the spiritual connection with God was a way for me in my issues, in my limits, to be free from limits and fear and pain, right? Because shame is something that's used against us to be stuck, limited. Where? Come on, in the past, right? In decisions you can't change, and things that was no product of your own here. Nah, I wasn't a product of a drug parent. Nah. So, the narrative they can take everywhere, right? I was just born to somebody who was a different blood type as me. So she got pregnant with a thing that was, her body was attacking. So my mom, right? Her body was attacking her. So it was a fight for herself by me, right? To have me. I get it. Spiritually, I get all of that, right? That's not what this is. This is motivation, hopefully, to somebody, right? With the problems at the forefront of their life, right? Questioning why. You asking yourself, why you, right? And how could you endure? How could they tell you to endure? We couldn't imagine what you have to endure. See, that's what the Spirit was telling me. That's what the Spirit was doing for me. See, in the relationship that I was building with God, in the limits, right? The limit in the leg, right? The dead leg. Those that are connected to me, the ones in this house, they know. The leg is dying. The nerve in my leg is dying. But I declare that's not the verdict. I declare that we're making these decisions, right? I'm eating, I'm doing it, I'm taking the teas, I'm making the changes. I'm trying to make the best decisions each day, eating, right? Because it's in what I was eating that was causing me to gain all of the weight and the excess that was making the what? Atypical frame, right? The bend in my hip and the connection of my limited ribs, right, to my spine. So it's a transitional anatomy, right? So the body was working as it was normal, but it wasn't. So it was creating issues on the back. Over time, it was taking apart the vertebrae in the back. Pieces and pieces and pieces. Day by day, the pain would cause more inflammation, and more inflammation would cause more discomfort, and more discomfort would create a better, way for the enemy to divide, to destroy and delay. See, the enemy didn't create the deficit or the problems, right? But the enemy was able to be present because we were in the place to be plucked. See, this is for whoever may be in that place where they feel like, pitiful for themselves and the pain and the problems, wishing that they could get rid of them things. But the question shouldn't be if you could get rid of it, but more importantly, what would you do with somebody else's issues? Because in the end, somebody else always got it worse, right? Those that were diagnosed with this disorder, right? This body in the spine and the deficit in the connection, right? These things, right? These people would not walk. They would never have experienced the blessings of being great. I was great physically. If I had to, I could move, right? But right after, the pain would hit. So I'm grateful. In the end, it's all in the perspective. Whatever God's doing, I know it's all about Him here. It's not in what I can physically do, but in the spiritual way and how I can communicate it there, because the power is bigger than what I can physically change, but in what I can communicate how He changed me here, right? Because it's bigger than me. If I can lead them to Him, then they could see Him in here, and somehow, even if it was 15 to 20 minutes, despite the pain, the one would have some hope. See, that's truth, love, and all of that there. Hello? Oh, yeah. She sleep? Yeah, I figured. Yeah, she's done. She don't need no more. It's a rush. Yeah. And fake sugar. Where you at now? Oh, all right. Well. No, it was nothing. It was nothing. My leg was hurt. Dumb, numb, heavy, leg. Yeah, I know. That's why I was up moving. No, not today. Not today. I probably need some water too. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I know. I saw them in the car. I dropped one this morning. Yeah, I'll drink when you get back. Alright, well, come in your clothes. You gonna go straight to get ready, right? Oh, you come back. Alright, well, cool. I'll see you when you get back. Yeah, you going straight to get ready, right? Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, that's what I just said. You in the weapons. I know. Alright, bye. In the end, it's a lesson, right? It's a blessing. But the question I always seem to ask myself, right? If I didn't have these limits, would I be connected or dependent on God as I am here? If life wasn't lifing, if I wasn't isolated, if the last decade, right, wasn't a bit and 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 a bit breaking of what I thought I was and who I thought I was, to the point where I realized I was done. That's when it was. I realized it was him. It was God, right? Because when we realize the problems and the issues of life, whoever yours is, and whatever yours is, whoever you may be, whatever it is that you may be plagued with, right? See, I try to look at it like this. I thank God that my body is able to fight, right? My mind is able to fight. My spirit is equipped to fight, right? Even if my body is fighting, right? It's still working. I say that to say, wherever you are, no matter what you may be fighting, if you in the fight, there's hope for you. And what I mean by if you in the fight working, right? If you in the fight working, letting God work, then that fight gonna work, and it's gonna work in the end. In the end, because there's his thoughts. His thoughts is for you to work out in the end. And the end of all of that, the end of you, at the end of your rope, will you work it there? Will you trust God? Will you expect that at the end of you, at the worst of you, would you just, God? See, that's what I had to endure. I had to endure the pain and the shame and the suffering and the excuses and regrets of losing what I thought, the man and the life that I thought, all that I thought I was in it for life, right? Because even then I was getting hurt. They were sending me to orthopedics, just never a need to get imaging to the point, right? But all that to say, I wouldn't give it in. And I would hope that no matter what you facing, you wouldn't give yours in. See, that's why we call out things like fear and suicide and addiction and fornication, right? We get it. We know sin, right? But let's call out judgment. Let's call out shame. Let's call out gossip. Let's call out them things, because it's them things that's going to push those people, us people, on the bridge, off, right? Because You never know what a person wear. You can't see a person pain. You can't see that issue there. See, I used to think, man, why God sent me there? Then I understood example of a what? Fighter. After the surgery, of what? The back and the wear, hips, deformities, yep. But no excuses. Where out of them leaders that God somehow put you where? Where did God put you? See, if you know where God put you, then you gonna what? Understand. Yours is yours. You gonna carry yours. And you gonna trust God at the end. He gonna bring you through. You gonna be able to endure. 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 See, despite the delay, despite the numbness, right? And what that would do to the mind of the one that could use his body, greatly could use his body. Now his body would be failing. What would that do to the mind of oh man, here. See. God said when you expected, he was there. So if you're not expecting, you need to be reminded. That's why you gotta hear. That's why he put some of us in these places to share our testimonies. But we gotta be clear. Protect ours that are not equipped to be in that because it's us that he said be in the front. It's not a gender related specific thing here. So shout out again to Sister Carrie for sharing that, because that's the conversation we just had this morning. And here, see, social media gotta be a tool. It's just a means and a way, right? To get whatever you trying to promote there. I'm promoting that God is still God. When LaRon is still LaRon, God is still God. When life is still life, God is still God. When things ain't what it should be, God is still God. When the pain and the numbness, right? When the fear in the man, right? Of losing mobility, right? God is still God. When the cancer is still cancer. And the man is tired, God is still God. When the bills are still adding and the man can't work, God is still God. When the wife working harder than ever, right? God's still God. When the kids need more, God's still God, right? When the family need more, but God's still God there. See, God gotta use those that are conditioned by him. See, if you gonna say you was chosen, you hardly really hear that. You really hardly hear chosen say they chosen. But a chosen know they was chosen. Because them chosens knows that what? They know they in a world of chaos. Some of us been born to it. Some of us could write books on trauma. Some of us ain't victims to trauma. Some of us won't cry to trauma. Some of us been hardened by trauma. Some of us don't trust from trauma, right? But some of us have endured, not because of self, but in God here. See, I don't preach a God of color. I don't say you preach a God because you preaching a white man religion there. See, I don't preach religion. I don't preach religion. I don't take part in religion. I'm not part of a religion. I'm part of him. I'm one of them that reach up to God, the Spirit of God in real life, to help me walk through this life. Right? Because at 45, I'm starting to realize that I over-expectations here. Yeah. I probably got that caught up somewhere, but I exceeded all expectations. LaRon did. That baby that shouldn't have did. That boy that shouldn't have became did. That man that shouldn't still be here still, right? Shouting God. Indoor, 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 indoor. Tripping over the dead leg here. Indoor, indoor, indoor. Despite a sinner, sin. We know sinner, sin. We all sinners here. Every one of us, if you gonna speak, speak it. I know I sin daily. That's why I be trying to walk it out in faith. You see, because sometimes I question God. At what point, God, is enough enough? Sometimes I wake up and question God. See, I was in the season, right? I don't share nobody but my truth here. That's one thing me and my wife, we established about 5 years. You share your truth, not mine. Here, and I heard it. See, so this is something that, some going to be able to relate to, and some may not. But it was a day, this was about 7, 8 years ago. I woke up, and I was furious. I was in pain in my back, right? Part of why I was so up for the last decade, like, you telling me I got cancer, we don't know what to do, we will wait to see what the body do, my body is deteriorating, but nobody is helping, right? Not people, I wasn't expecting people to help, but I'm like the system said, you should be able to do this, and you try to do it, and you constantly can't, right? And you should provide, and those that are around you, they only know how to say, hey, you should be out there working. They have no idea. You wish you could. Wish you could. The mental makeup of somebody that worked his whole life, never had nobody. Never had nobody. He had people that did for him. But he had nobody, meaning, right? To have anything requires truth. So if you come from something that won't give you truth, you have nothing. You're limited on all you could be, and all you ought to be, because some is void. See, life is a life, and the good book tell you life gonna help you live life, and patience gonna give you power, and his word gonna push you where? To the presence of God, and in that will you be all you can just hear. See, how many people been in that place where they tried all they could do, and they tried and they tried and they tried, and here, see, and somehow this was on YouTube, looking at me. They stumbled on this here, and they said, this crazy man is tripping. Let's give him a hair. I pray to God if they give it a hair, they're going to get caught with, God, left and back. So part of the arthritis, they just told me now, yeah, left and back hurts, right? So I'm a fish to the side. But I'm still going to fish for him here. I'm going to sling to the right, and I'm going to sling it with purpose here, because he said if somebody here and they need to know, the answer is yes. You shall endure. Yes, you can endure. Yes, endure in faith here. See, so despite you and your problems, you see, I try to look at it like this, right? Instead of cancer, what if I had AIDS, right? Instead of being limited in the body, right, the spine, what if it was up in my brain and I can talk and walk and I was vegetated? See, that immatureness in me, right? Right. That's the faith. That's what I have in God here. See, I thank him. I thank him in the good. I thank him in the bad. I thank him in this pain. I thank him in the machines. I thank him whatever. Whatever I had to live, I'm going to thank him in here. Because I was at a place, y'all, 7, 8 years. See, I ain't forget. When I was waking up, my wife would tell y'all, man. She was asking me what was wrong, and I was like, God, it's taking too long to take me. And now it's like, it hurts me to say it, right? Because I had a brother named Stefan Lawman. I grew up with this dude in New York, man. He was a good kid, smart brother, man. This dude never I never saw nothing about this dude but good things in this dude, man. Right? At the same time, when I was waking, I need y'all to hear how God will work, right? How he'll work a word like endure through you, right? And how it could mean something really here, practical here to help you really endure so that you could make it there to that place where you could testify. Yep. It was God. It wasn't a YouTube video. It wasn't a purpose. It wasn't a person. It wasn't me. It wasn't you. It was God. Somehow he got it to you. But my brother Stefan, right? I ain't seen this dude since like 1992, 1993. When I had left New York to go live in New Jersey. I ain't seen him no more. I had no more contact with him. And out the blue, I get this message on Facebook. Yo, this Stefan Lawman. This the same time when I'm waking up hating that God ain't taken yet. And my brother said, I'm coming to see you after work. He came to see me, right? I told him, hey, man, they think I'm sick, but they don't know what I'm sick with. He said something like, man, you tough, man. Whatever it is, you're going to get through. We start talking, reminiscing, whatever. A few months later, he died of cancer. I ain't say I changed that day, but that day changed me. Because the real truth is, the next day his brother, whoever responded and told me, I wanted to go to his funeral, but I was so sick at the time, I couldn't even be around people. Even with the mask, I couldn't even be around people. When people was free from COVID, it was years before I was able to be free from the confinement of the mask and the fear of getting sick from people. But it was the brother's story, Stefan, right? He wrote books. He was a guidance counselor, well-educated, well-spoken, a great positive brother, a father, a husband. Shout out to his wife and his daughters. It was the day after I woke up and my wife asked me again and she said, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know why God didn't take me instead of him. She didn't know what to say, so she walked away. We talk about it like now. At the time, I get it. But it was in her talking that through to me, how she couldn't understand, how I wasn't grateful